Okay, hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, and finally this is the part where I talk about the last portion of Springleaf Residence. So this is my fourth part in this 4-part series, and I can give you more information now because basically developer has came up with more info, and I just came back from the showflat as well. If anyone is going down the showflat, ambience is really quite nice. Of course, as always, if you want any information from my content, especially what I'm going to talk about today, which is the unit type selection analysis, do feel free to reach out to me. If not, please help me to like and subscribe because really doing out this content is really not easy. Okay, so without further ado, let me continue. So today we're going to talk about two main items. Number one, as I mentioned, today is going to talk about unit type selection and analysis. So I'm going to go through about the 2, 3, 4, 5 bedrooms. Then again, I also will not talk about the conservation portion because it's not in my recommendation in the first place. Let's focus on the main buildings itself. I'm also going to top up a bit on the exit strategy for Springleaf Residence, drawing ideas from its total supply in that area potential and also the upcoming MOP supply as well as EC supply that is going to MOP down the road. Okay, but let's go on to my first part of the analysis, unit type selection and analysis. So what does this comprises of? I will try to help you to spot where is the starting from prices, since developer has been very generous to give us the starting from price just start of the week before the launch of the preview. Okay, and then from there I also give you my idea of a better stack to look at. If you have some budget, maybe you can look at these few stacks. Okay, and how did I derive from my selection analysis criteria, right? It's basically from my work experience in the resale environment, selling resale listings. So some of the criteria that I look at, of course, is number one, the sun direction. Usually units with full west sun is least preferred. Of course, some people say I'm more really like the west sun but we are all Asian families, right? Full west sun, not so preferred. Yet we cannot discount that we do need some amount of sunlight into the house for brightness, for sanitizing the house, and overall, as well as overall energy for the house. You want your house to be brightly lit, right? And henceforth, I will always say some east-facing units are okay. Slight west sun is fine as well. Okay, next is of course the view that we can be looking at. If there's any blockage, are we really directly facing the neighbor? Is it very near the conservation building? And also, does it have a landed facing if we tilt from certain angle at the balcony, or with some greenery facing, since we are at Springleaf area, which is also sort of like a nature reserve environment. And point number 3 is the facilities, because we are in a family type condominium, so there's quite a lot of facilities, right? Then we want to know whether, especially for the low floor units, are there any sound traps? Does the pool and the overall foliage landscaping actually help to make your whole view within the development looks rather attractive, I would say. Then next one also is the road noise, because Springleaf Residence, some of the units all have highway facing units, so they might experience a bit of road noise from the SLE. So these are some of my criteria. I'm going to move into my first analysis, which is the 2-bedroom types. In the 2-bedroom analysis, there are 2 different types. There is the 2-bedroom basic, which I'm going to talk about right now, is the 527 square feet. Dumbbell layout, pretty much quite standard. Gallery kitchen, dining tucked to the left side when you enter the house, and your master is on the right, and your bedroom is on the left, depending on which facing you are. Okay, so there are total of 5 stacks if you can see from my site plan, namely 9, 16, 17, 24, and stack 32. Okay, and there are a total of 117 number of units for the 2-bedroom basic types. Okay, and my guess, because developer has give us kindly the starting from prices at $1.078 million, which means to say if you are damn lucky, you can really buy a 2-bed, 1-bath right next to the MRT, quite near to city center, about 25-30 minutes away to Orchard, at just below $1.1 million. I think it's really quite competitive, because if you go to the resale market, not easy to find, unless the condo is slightly older, maybe like 9, 10, 11, 12 years old. You can get around that pricing. But if not, something brand new, it is sort of unseen of, unheard of so far. If you ask me, starting from price, probably would land on stack 9 or stack 16, because they are technically the one that is nearest to the boundary, which is after that SLE highway. So I think that is where developer likely, my guess, likely to have the starting from prices. That is also where I feel the cheaper stacks will be. So those people with a budget, maybe you can stretch a bit, sorry, 1.15, 1.2 max. I think this is where you can be looking at from level 3 all the way to level 8. Okay, so that you can also mitigate a bit of the road noise if you go, as they always say, right, noise travel upwards. Okay, of course, the better stacks I think would be like stack 32, because if you choose something above level 12 all the way up to 25, if I'm not wrong, if you tilt to the left from your balcony, you should be able to see the splendid enclave, which gives a very nice overall view of the whole Springleaf neighborhood. So I feel that if you're looking for something, you're not so tight on budget, you want to it as a own stay, then maybe you can look at stack number 32 as a premium choice. So that is for the basic. If we're going to look into the 2-bedroom standard layout, which is 646 square feet, it comes with 2-bed, 2-bathroom. This is also the show flat unit. There is a little tuck in for the kitchen. Okay, not the usual gallery kitchen when you come in. There is a Jack and Jill bathroom for the common room as well as into the living room. And then the master room is on the left, of course, depending on which side or mirror image you are buying from. Likely the starting from price based on the starting PSF is $1.332 million. And there are a total of 9 stacks altogether, ranging from stack 1, 4, 13, 21, 29, 33, 36, 37 and stack 40. A total of 215 units altogether. And of course, my best guess that the cheapest stack would be the one at stack 4, because it will be right facing the conservation campus, which at level 3 or level 4, you should be either facing the building itself. If not the roof of the building, I don't think you will overlook into the field in front. So I guess that is where the starting from or the cheaper stack will be. Okay, if I can suggest good stacks to look at or better stacks to consider, would be in stack 36 and 37. I think you will have very nice greenery view of Springleaf Forest. This unit does not likely to have west sun into the house as compared to block 817, which is the next block. If not, we can also look at stack 21, 33 and 40. Because these stacks are all facing within the development, I would recommend you to go for something like level 2 to level 6 or maybe level 7 at most, so that you can enjoy the whole view of the condo, the pool with the greenery, as well as how the landscape of the condo is being determined. If you also want to choose something that is nearer to the entrance, ironically, you could look at stack 4 as well. Okay, stack 4 high floor unit. Okay, like 19 to 25. Okay, of course, expect to pay a bit more premium at such a level. Then again, you also get to have the unblocked landed view, which is on the right side, the landed enclave across the road at the right side of Springleaf Residence. Okay, so this is my recommendation, my 2-bedroom analysis for Springleaf Residence. Bear with me, let's go on to the 3-bedroom analysis. The 3-bedroom analysis fall into 3 different categories. We have the basic, we have the standard, and we have the plus. A bit like the BTO style, plus prime model. Okay, so now let's focus on the basic first. So for the basic, there's 2 different types. There is the 786 and the 818 square feet. And they are very attractive because of the starting from price. As I mentioned, developer has been quite generous. They gave us the starting from price for a 786 square feet at $1.618 million. Okay, and this 781 square feet, likewise, you walk in, you have kind of like an open concept kitchen, which is, as I mentioned in my previous video, some of the HDB BTOs, they also opt for this kind of concept already, so it's not unfamiliar with. Okay, and likewise, it has also been accepted in Lentor Mansion as well, where these are the unit types that move first, because generally it falls into a lot of people's upgraders budget, affordability, and maybe they can buy under one name, so it's very comfortable for them. I don't think developer will want to shortchange you in terms of the room size, because you can see that from the schematic, it can fit a queen size bed and a bedside table, which means the bedrooms, common bedrooms, can comfortably put in a single or a super single for your child and a study table. And for yourself, master room should be quite sizable, probably in the range of 12 square meters or more. So if we were to look at the number of stacks available, there are 6 different ones. There are namely stack 5, stack 8, stack 12, 20, 25 and stack 28. So total number of units 124. My guess is the starting from, as you can see, I always like to put it where the view is not so good, maybe there is some noise. So in such a case, if you look at the comparables, likely you will land at stack 5 because again, it is just next to the conservation school campus. Okay, and it should be probably starting at 0305 level 3 unit. Okay, and if you have a bit of budget, if you're literally buying for own stay and or you want to turn it around to sell to someone in the future that will appreciate Springleaf as a place that they want to stay with serenity, with forest greenery view, as well as a low density area, yet there is good food right across where Springleaf Prata is, the row of shop houses, right? These are the ones that I'll recommend. Number one we can look at is stack 12 as well as stack 20. Okay, both are inwards facing. I think there's no qualms in getting any of all the levels available. I think that is definitely fine. Also, my take is maybe not choose level 1 first unless really no choice. Okay, start from level 2 all the way, work your way up to level 25. If not, we can also look at stack 28. It is the west sun facing unit, we all know, because that is the west direction, and henceforth I will recommend you to look at maybe between level 2 to 7, maximum of level 8, because that is where when you're at the lower floor, no, the forest in front, the foliage might help you to block a bit of the west sun, so you don't get the very strong 1, 2, 3 p.m. sun, but maybe the setting sun like 5, 6, you'll go into your unit and it's not so bad. Okay, if not, alternatively, I think stack 5 as well as stack 25 is quite interesting to look at, especially the higher floors unit, because I think one of the key points that I like to mention about Springleaf is that you have the unblocked landed enclave view. So that might be one of the selling points down the road in the future in the resale environment. Okay, so this is for the 786 basic unit. Another basic layout that is available is 818 square feet. It's slightly different because there is a little privacy corner that when you walk in, you don't walk directly into the kitchen as compared to the 786 unit. Okay, there is only 2 stacks available for such a unit type. They are namely stack 10 and stack 18. Okay, and starting from prices, I also came up with my estimate that it should be around $1.684 million, and that should land you at level 1 of stack 10, because as again, block 813 where stack 10 is the nearest to the boundary, and the boundary after that is the highway SLE, so I think they're likely to start with that. Okay, obviously the better stack to choose is of course a bit more setback, okay, at stack 18. I think most of the units should be fine, because even if you choose stack 1, it is not a path whereby a lot of people will walk past your unit, so there's a certain level of privacy involved. Most people will probably walk towards the pool instead of going to that corner of the condominium. So next we have is the standard layout. So for the standard layout, there is the 904, 926 and 958. So for the 904 square feet, if you can follow me, this would have nicely a flex unit that you can use it as a storeroom, as a helper's quarter combined, or as an extra study space if you have a work from home arrangement, or if your kid has the home-based learning, like if it ever comes back, or maybe a naughty corner, you can just put them there. Okay, so when you come into the unit, there is also an enclosed kitchen. All right, the dining, living, pretty much quite standard. Okay, bathrooms, master and common bathroom comes with window, naturally ventilated, and the rooms are quite similar to the 818 or 786 square feet unit. So there's only 2 stacks available of 50 units for this layout. And my estimate for the starting price, based on the starting PSF again, okay, is $1.860 million. And I think it is likely to be at stack 0114, because if you look at the stack 14, it is actually facing towards conservation building. And for the conservation building, I think at least up to level 4 or 5, you will have a bit of facing your neighbor kind of opportunity, versus if you're at stack 2, which is where the entrance of the condo is. Okay, so of course, as a better stack to consider is probably stack 02, all the levels that is available. Then next is 926 square feet. There are 2 different layouts. There are namely stack 31 and stack 23. They are different is at the entrance of the unit, the foyer area, whereby stack 23 you can walk in directly to the unit, whereas for stack 31 it's kind of like a maze foyer design. Okay, some people like it. They create some privacy. They can do some shelvings or carpentry work at the entrance. Okay, if not, I think a bit more efficient in terms of the layout will be stack 23 lah, because you don't really have this L-shaped walk-in. If we were to look at, there's only 2 stacks as I mentioned, 50 units. Okay, starting from price, based on the starting PSF given by developer, okay, it's an estimate, should be around $1.906 million. And then it should sit at probably stack 23 level 1. It's the block that is technically facing the SLE highway. And then I think a better stack to choose, because I personally prefer the stack 23 layout, so I'll keep it to the stack 23. And I think if you choose a higher floor of 5 to 25, even though you get a bit of the highway noise, which is the furthest away from the boundary already, you also get the unblocked landed view. Okay, so I think that is quite a nice view from your unit. As I have mentioned, my preference in this standard layout 926 square feet is still stack 23. Because of the facing, if you notice how it is being directed, right, you will have a nice unblocked landed view of the Springleaf landed enclave, especially if you can choose, if your budget allows and qualifies, you can choose a higher floor unit. Basically, I believe if you are probably 10 and above, you should be able to have a good view of the unblocked landed enclave. So this is how I look at standard 926 square feet unit. Continuing on for my 3-bedroom standard layout, okay, there is the 958 square feet. There's only 1 stack of it, 21 units. Starting from estimate based on the starting from PSF given by the developer, I think it should sit around $1.971 million. Should be at 0126. Obviously there's only 1 stack anyway. Okay, however, I don't really like this layout, frankly speaking, because the walk-in foyer leading up to your house, yes, it creates a very nice privacy kind of concept, but then again, I find that it's a bit too much. Okay, so in such a case, I think that there is a bit of the wasted space in this sense. So if you get a chance, of course, to pick 926 at stack 23 or 904, which is also my preferred stack, why not go for it? And in fact, that should land you at a lower price at around 1.8 million. Basically, this 958 square feet is not my preferred choice for this Springleaf Residence. Okay, moving to the biggest 3-bedroom, which is the Plus model. There is 2 different kinds. There is the 1023 square feet and the 1076 square feet. Okay, so for the 1023 layout type, once you come in, it is a 3-bedroom, 3-bath with a flex or plus study kind of unit. Okay, when you come in, interestingly, which is very similar to Lentor Mansion as well, the bathroom or the powder room is at near the entrance of the place. Okay, quite uncommon. Then again, I think it's still acceptable because I went to see the show unit, it looks fine. When you come in, you have the dry kitchen, you have the wet kitchen concept, you have quite a reasonably sized dining area, and then you move on to your living and the balcony. Okay, the home shelter faces towards the hallway into the room. And most importantly, I think in this layout is quite good because it comes with a flex unit. So it's like a 3+ study or maybe a small 4-bedroom, which I believe this you can still house your helper if you need to, or as an additional storage space, which probably not, but more likely as a work from home station. So basically for this, we have 3 stacks as I mentioned, and I think the estimated starting from price based on the starting PSF for the 3-bedroom should be around $2.105334 million. I think a better stack to look at should be stack 27 and stack 19. I think 27 we should keep it to the low floor unit because any higher floor you go, you get a bit of the west sun, even though you can be compensated with the Springleaf forest. I would choose stack 19 because it's a long pool, and usually when you go to condominiums, long pools, lap pools are not so crowded as compared to the smaller pools. Next we look at is the 1076 square feet unit. And before that, maybe I just want to top it up. For the 1023 unit, we also try to keep it at the lower floor ranges because of the price per level jump, which we do not know roughly how much yet. Okay, basically, if we go too high up on the 1023 type of layout, right, we might enter into the price range of 1076, which I'm going to talk about later. And then that makes the exit a bit of a trouble. If you are at the 1023, just keep it to a certain level. I think over here I put around level 12. I think it's fair. Anything more, developers might load you a bit higher, and then you are in the same price point as the bigger plus unit. Okay, so the bigger plus unit is 1076. Okay, for 1076, the advantage is that it has a longer hallway. I also do not know how developer comes out with this layout, which is quite interesting. Then again, I believe it's also how they orientate based on the block lah. So no choice, they have to extend out the unit a bit more so that they can give the master bath, the common bath, as well as the flex room a window so that it's not too dark at the back of the block. As I was saying, there's only one stack, which is on stack 7. If you are going for stack 7, my suggestion is to go for the high floor units, level 18 to 25. To me, since you're already paying so much, might as well get the one with the higher floor and the best views. We move on to the 4-bedroom analysis. Okay, so for the 4-bedroom analysis, there's only one size, 1227 square feet, but there is 2 different layouts to look at. Okay, main difference for the layout is at the entrance of the 4 bedrooms. Okay, starting from price is given by the developer, $2.448 million. And I spoke to a number of buyers. I think this is quite an attractive price point. Even if you were to enter at $2.5 to $2.7 million, I think it's not easy in the new market, new launch segment to find something of a 4-bedroom at this price range. I believe you have to have a very good Q number also lah. They will have a chance to even get at this pricing. Okay, so there's 6 different stacks, namely stack 3, 6, 15, 22, 35 and 39, out of which there is 138 units. And my guess for the starting from price again would be at 0303 because it is facing the conservation house. Not much of a view. You'll be literally facing your neighboring unit because they decided to convert conservation house into a residential unit as well. If you have a bit more budget, you have a bit more runway for your price point, a bit more variance, my recommendation is you can look at stack 22 because this gives you a very nice look of the whole being in the center of the condominium. Okay, so I think good to choose is level 3 to level 7 for stack 22, and if not, you can look at stack 3, 6 and 39. Okay, level 11 onwards, you should get a unblocked landed view. Okay, whereas the rest of them that I didn't pick might be a bit on the costly side also. Stack 35, developer might want to load a bit on the premium because you are facing the Springleaf Forest, which is an unblocked view. Okay, so this is my take for the 4 bedrooms. And finally, we look at the 5 bedroom. There are 2 different layout sizes. Okay, 1453 as well as 1475. Okay, so the difference between the 1453 and the 1475, I realized the main difference you notice, the show flat one is the 1453 I just went today. Okay, the dining area here, you have a glass panel which allow light as well as cross ventilation to come into your dining, living and through to our balcony. So I think if you want to choose a 5 bedroom unit type, I would suggest you look at the slightly smaller one, 1453, easier on the pocket. You might be able to choose a higher floor unit, and you also be able to have more brightness coming into your apartment because the 5 bedroom floor plan is usually quite big in general. Okay, starting from price given by developer for 5 bedroom is $3.018 million. Okay, there's 2 stacks of 1453 square feet. The total number of units is 50. They are respectively at stack 30 and stack 34. Okay, obviously 30 having the west sun kind of facing. Okay, I think developers likely to have the starting from price unit over there at 0130. And my recommendations would be at all levels of stack 34. Unless you really cannot choose something, or your price budget, you have a certain budget to work within, then I think if you choose the Springleaf Forest view, if you'll be a west sun, maybe don't go too high a level, up to 7 or 8. Would be quite nice. Okay, and finally would be the 5 bedroom at 1475 square feet. Okay, this is a bigger, obviously there's bigger in layout size. Okay, there's only 1 stack. Okay, 21 units and it's on stack 34. Okay, as I mentioned, my preference is still the previous 1453 square feet unit. Unless, of course, there's not much choice available, then you can choose to go for the 1475 square feet. Okay, so this is the end of my bedroom analysis. I hope it helps you to give you an idea of how and where the starting prices would be. Maybe from there, if you want to analyze a bit further on how to look at per floor level jump, and what kind of budget you have that we have to work on, feel free. I'm more than happy that you reach out to me to contact me. Next, I'm going to move on to the second part, which is the exit strategy, that I just want to top it up to summarize my whole journey of having 4 contents talking about Springleaf Residence. For the exit strategy for Springleaf Residence, I think I want to talk about the TOP supply versus the HDB and EC MOP demand down the road in the future. Because the first thing when you talk about Springleaf Residence is immediate connection to Lentor. And when you connect to Lentor, everyone will say that seems to have an oversupply of condos over there. Basically because there is a lot of individual condos over in that area in the past few years of launches. And I start to see a bit of the logic why this is happening. Because if you can see, if you follow the TOP supply, if you enter Springleaf this year in 2025, the next unit that is going to TOP collect keys is Lentor Modern in 2026. Okay, whereas Lentora will collect keys in 2027. And 2028 will be Lentor Hill, Lentor Mansion, and likely Lentor Central. Whereas for Springleaf Residence, you will TOP in 2029. And in hindsight, you will tend to kind of escape the TOP supply that comes in 2026 to 2028. So I think this is one of a key factor for you to consider when you are exiting. If you are concerned having too high supply or too high TOP supply, then of course it also depends on your unit type that you are choosing. If you are choosing a family unit type, 3 bedroom, 4 bedroom, 5 bedrooms, I think in general sense that might not be a lot. Most of the buyers that I encounter, I hear from my teammates, they are also buying for their own stay. One more interesting thing is that how does that 2029 tie into our seller stamp duty? Recent change in measures in July 2025, we have to increase our seller stamp duty to 4 years instead of 3 years. So this would nicely sit on the TOP of Springleaf Residence in 2029 if you intend to have a short holding period of 4 to 5 years, 6 years, then you were to exit. Okay, so even if we talk about the overall supply sounds like quite a significant portion, I'd like to draw your attention to the upcoming possible demand from the HDB MOP supply next year onwards. Because we all know, or if you have been following some of the real estate agents in Singapore, we all know that this year has the lowest MOP units of 8,000. Whereas on next year onwards, we can expect up to close to 54,000 new MOP units, which means they reach their 5 years and they are able to let go. And if we were to focus on that, we are talking about just in the north area, there's about 22,000 units that is potentially able to MOP in the period of 2028 onwards. And this will actually help to generate some supply of upgraders into the market and the take-up rate for the condominiums along Lentor area. Essentially, it is considered an upgrade if they are coming down from Woodlands, Canberra, Sembawang towards Upper Thomson, this area. And not forgetting that, of course, I also went to look at it in the year of 2028. We can also expect some EC to MOP, and this also generate another pool of very strong buyers or upgraders, because generally if you look at the profitability of the ECs in the last few years, it has been quite strong, and this allows them to come into the market, especially when they want to move down the MRT line, and they also being able to afford, be it in terms of one name or buying together a 4-bedroom or a 5-bedroom in Lentor Springleaf area. Okay, so I think in general sense, why the government allow so many plots to be available at Lentor and what they are preparing for is this future group of upgraders. Because if not, this future group of upgraders, even you have a minimal amount of 5 to 10% of them changing hands, right? I think they will cause a spike in the resale prices if do not have any of this new supply coming in Lentor and Springleaf area. So if you have been following me through my Springleaf Residence journey in this 4-part series, first video I talk about the low land bid price that Guaco Land and Hong Leong has gotten for Springleaf Residence, and also bring a first mover advantage over at Springleaf MRT station, because you'll be the first condominium in this neighborhood, which is normally famously known for its landed areas. Okay, number 2, I talk about the change in the master plan transformation in this area. How does that, having the MRT, having more HDB units, MOP from Woodlands area in the north, will bring on supply into Springleaf Lentor area. The third video I mentioned about is a bit of the comparison in terms of with Canberra Crescent Residence. And finally today I managed to give you a bit more insights about where are the starting from prices, what layouts to look at, and I hope that this will give you a clearer picture when you are going to choose your unit, or why should you be looking at Springleaf Residence. If not, I'm very happy that you reach out to me. If you want any of my materials, more than happy to discuss with you. Thank you very much everyone for following me through, and I will see you in my next video. Bye bye.